Michael, is there anything that you found that's new or that you could give us an update?
Oh yeah, a lot of new information. Just confirming what we discussed the previous time we had a chat. In many of my interviews, I've been talking about the fact that the stone circles and the stone structures that we're discovering here, I have put together my theory and hypothesis that they were used, well, not all of them, but many of them were used as energy generating devices using sound frequency and standing waves, and turning that into a form of energy with which they did all the gold mining and all other kinds of mining. And not only that, they used that energy for levitation, for crushing, for everything they needed to do, for heating, and so forth. What that was the theory that I had based on purely putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And then recently we did some measurements that were absolutely astounding to prove pretty much that my theory has been true. Not that I doubted it, because I've had so many psychics and people come forward and tell me exactly the same thing, or confirming what I believed or what I put together from the pieces of the puzzle. And again, I didn't just come up with this. You can call it a scientific exploration that's taken a long, long time to put the pieces of the puzzle together, to figure out what was going on here a long time ago. And a long time ago, we believe from about 300,000 years ago. And so we did some measurements, and to our absolute astonishment, found that there is a very high energy, sound energy, that comes out of the ground inside these stone structures, the stone circles. It's been described by the guy that measured it as a column of energy that arises from the ground and moves up into the air. And secondly, he measured the energy and the sound frequencies coming out of the walls at about 72 dB, which is very loud, like rock concert loud almost, and at 14.5 gigahertz frequency, which means it is screaming at us all the time, but we can't hear it. So we've got live energy devices here that have been working for so long and are still currently working, and I believe it's a combination of tapping into the energy in the ground, in the soil of Mother Earth, that comes out everywhere, all over the surface, and using that sound frequency as a source of energy. And we need to start doing a lot more work and a lot more research in this area.
Absolutely. Where do you see yourself in the next coming weeks?
Well, I've got Terry Cassidy here next week from Project Camelot, and she's come to have a look at these ruins and do some interviews, and I've organized a talk for her and me in Johannesburg in 2 weeks' time. And then I'm coming to the United States in August. I'm coming to do my little tour of the United States and hopefully do about 20 appearances all over the USA. And so I might as well just use this opportunity. Hopefully I'm going to do one with you in your area, Joe.
Absolutely. Yeah, if there's any way that I can help promote that, I mean, I'm definitely a willing participant with that.
And then if whoever is listening to this interview, if they want to get involved and maybe assist me in doing a talk, if you want me to come and talk in your town or your city, just email me, and all I need is a venue, and that's pretty much it, venue, and then we'll do the PR collectively, and hopefully we can get a bunch of people in there that I can come and share some of our discoveries with.
Right. How many people would you say, so this all works out, do you think that 100 people would be an adequate venue, or an adequate amount of people, I should say, or more?
Yeah, 100 people would be wonderful. You know, anything more than that will be incredible. And so far I've had some really positive responses and feedback from people who have offered their services and help to set up some talks and find venues for me. So if all things continues like it has been, today was really the first day that I started promoting this. via email, and so far it's been going really well. Very positive feedback. So in the next 2 weeks, hopefully we'll finalize everything with the people in about 20 places around the USA, and then I can actually start promoting it and actually put a time and a date to the venue and the town that I'll be talking at.
Perfect. Okay, I think Terry might be ready now.
We are now in a position to allow this energy to flow easily. We are listening to the communication and allowing the vessel to take a trip to your position, your location. In the meantime, we bring this energy to allow the conversation to flow for what is the energy stream of what you are asking to understand in this vibration of energy.
Is my understanding of the way that they use the energy accurate, or is it more or less accurate?
In your research, for you to be in this research, you actually are carrying that energy to expose this information. This information can be a drive. There is an inner drive that is coming that is not of what you would expect in the ego mind, but it is a feeling that it must be exposed. This is because you are actually allowing this new transition of time to create and to allow those who have been in the dark for such a long time to come out of the dark, to come back into the light. You are exposing the truth at a higher frequency of energy. And much of your information comes as though you are the channel of that information through your research, the study, the drive that you have, even the ability to find the information comes from a higher awareness within yourself.
Do you know who is responsible for feeding me the information or channeling the information to me?
You are receiving this information from very early on, from the beginnings of the time frame of the species. It is almost as if we could tap into this energy. It would be easier to be in your energy stream, to understand where you once created early in the species during the extraterrestrial visitations.
Would it be accurate to say that our species was then created by extraterrestrials for a specific reason and a purpose on this planet?
we do remember that there has been, and there still is, what you would call extraterrestrial involvement from the very beginning. And it is like almost as if you would look at the earth as an experiment of some type. Or and another way of looking at this energy is to see there are different time frames of evolution early on. And in the beginning, there has been what some may look at as we only speak from the remembrance of the energy. The vessel has not read or does not know any of your work. We can only articulate what the vessel feels in the energy that we feed into this. We would say that there has been DNA changes which are still occurring and are occurring more rapidly now. It is a vibration of the energies that are, even then it was the changes of vibrations of minerals, vibrations of land formation, vibrations that came from different dimensional aspects of company that came from other what you would put the terms to as a planetary company, extraterrestrials. Some they call as the Anunnakis, they call some as the Zulazem.
And are you, how did you find us to channel through your information through us, or through to us? How did you find us, and how do you fit into these different groups of beings or entities? Are you not part of the Anunnaki group of beings? Are you from a different group of beings?
There is a time frame of slavery, they would call it. Many workers. This is a visitation. When the vessel asks for guidance, the group that works with the vessel may allow a visitation. As an observer, we are coming in as a collectiveness of one, remembering as though, if to put it as an I, as one of the workers. Much mining during this time that we were exposed to was to mine many of the, to build for what we perceived as giants, or we would see them as some not so friendly, and others friendly.
When you call it a vessel, when you use the word vessel, do you refer to planet Earth?
The vessel is the occupation or the physicalness of
the body.
who we speak through. We are communicating through the vessel.
They're communicating through Terry's body, and they term it as the vessel. Like Terry's body's the vessel.
Okay.
So we are allowing ourselves to bring this energy through as a remembrance, a signature of the remembrance of that energy.
And was it gold that was sought after in the beginning on this planet?
Gold is always preferred. Gold has has a structure. Yes, you may ask.
In the beginning, it was my understanding that gold was used as a physical substance for the protection of a planet, which the Anunnaki call Nibiru. Is that accurate?
We are in the awareness of the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, of the early visitors. Gold was not just used for their purpose, where they used it for many different aspects of worship. They used it for as a chemical combine for instruments that they would need for their own development.
Was it much later that they used gold as an energy source? Because I understand that they would have discovered the monoatomic principles of gold at a later stage and used it as an energy source. Is that accurate?
Gold has been used as an energy source. Even in the times forward, they still look at gold as an energy source. We cannot put a time to what you are trying to define at this point unless we are in the energy source itself. The energy source itself, we have a barrier right now. We can only tell you what we can remember through the signature of the energy. We realize that you are looking for particular answers, and usually we are able to pick up answers through the energy stream of what you look for. Given ample awareness of that energy, what happens inside the frame of the sight and the feelings of this vessel can only bring up what is remembered as the entity comes to visit. The entity was a slave. The entity dug for gold. The entity feels the essence of what it felt like to be in that situation at that time, how it thought, or how it feared, or how it lived.
Was there the main reason for the demise and the destruction of the civilization here in southern Africa and in the rest of the world at the same time, but mostly predominantly here, based on my discoveries here and my theories? Was the main reason for the destruction what we would call the Great Flood.
For the renewal, there had to have been a rebirth, just as there shall be again.
And am I right in assuming, or again postulating? Am I right in the conclusions that I'm making here that the largest areas of gold mining in ancient human times, in the first period of human history, were here in southern Africa?
Yes. Along with other minerals.
Along with other minerals. I believe also that later they started mining iron and all the other minerals, so that would be accurate?
Yes. Yes. There was much activity and aliveness during those times prior to the flood. There was great civilisations. There was a language that we most began to forget after that time frame, after the Great Flood.
I also get a sense that although we call it slavery, it wasn't harsh slavery.
No, it was a way of life.
I didn't hear that, excuse me?
It was their way of life.
It was their way of life. I sometimes describe it, I'm beginning to promote a new concept to the world, which I call contributionism. Maybe that energy has come through to you already, and it is to create a new world social structure of liberating the people from the enslavement of money. And I believe it's the only way to go ahead. I also believe that the first 270,000 years or so of human existence, people lived in what could be called, the first humans lived in what could be called the prototype of a contributionist society, where they had everything they needed, everything was provided, but their lives revolved around mining gold and other minerals.
And there were other species type, there was other species that did not agree upon this. Although it seemed like it was a way of life to them, and it was basically the energy design of that species at that time. So to us, it would be considered slavery at a later time. And even those who speak of it today, they look at that as slavery, because there was no other, for those who wanted to look at it differently and move away from it, because there was just not those species of the Anunnaki or the Nephilims or those who came that were along there. Those same species had different subspecies who did not agree upon the way that humanity was being treated, or that they had no growth in their energy field, because it became almost to some an obsession of having this having it worked in this way until these species began to evolve to a higher awareness. Does this?
Are you aware of what we refer to as planet Nibiru?
planet Nibiru comes through as a star of, as though these are those who wish to come through as bringing the answer to all. The planet Nibiru are the choice makers.
Are you familiar with the well recognized in our current research and written history? Are you familiar with the names Enki, Enlil, and Anu?
Because of the, we will have to change the energy signature to answer this. When the at this time we cannot answer this.
Okay. And at the moment, everybody is concerned about 2012 and what is going to happen during 2012, the catastrophe. Is there any information and knowledge that you have that we can learn from or benefit from? Is it something that you can share with us?
We will bring in the council. The 2012 is a time of change, a time of we bring into those who are seeking the answers to the 2012, and it is a time of change. It is a time of transformation for many. The earth is already in this transformation and change, and there is an energy that is becoming more of what we may call the ethereal energy of a separation of the earth. And there are many of those who are beginning to awaken into the aspect of transformation and is rising up into this energy field of this new change. 2012 is depicted as the end of time, although the time has already shifted. And when those are in their fear-based awareness look at the end of the world, it is not the end of the world as we see it. It is the end of time. It is a time of change. A new evolution of man is basically what we see as the awareness of 2012. 2012 is already begun. All the transformations have already begun. Yourself as a historian, we see, has many of these answers through the time that you are bringing forth. You are bringing forth answers to for many of the light workers, if you want to call them that, of those who are evolving. Their DNA is changing. There is much energy that is shifting, and you are just a part of that shift to help those to remember. You are exposing the energy because we will be living in that energy. We will be understanding that energy, just as many of those species early in the beginning understood energy much, actually more than what we understand it today. We are bringing back that remembrance, and this is what you have been doing, is helping those to shift into that energy to remember. In order to be able to remember brings in what they might call this new age or this new earth.
Some people believe that there will be some kind of a frequency separation
this is what we speak
of the conscious and the unconscious, almost like different television channels. They exist side by side, but they don't know about each other. I seem to resonate with that kind of feeling, because the planet is too divided, it is too diverse, there's too much conflict and too many diverse opinions, and huge gaps between those that understand and those that don't understand, and those that are conscious and those that are unconscious. And the only way to reconcile that is, in my opinion, through a frequency separation.
There is a lot of turmoil that you speak of in reference to those that are awakening and remembering, and the earth itself. There has to be a break somewhere, and this is where the 2012 comes into, where there will be a lot more clarity that comes forth. It is all of the frequencies and the transmissions, not from just the earth, but outside that information. This is how, even with those who are now beginning to break through the energy of their fear-based world, who allow themselves to open up, it is there is so much more involved in this transition than just one part of the story. And because there is so much involved, there are many of you, as yourself, that are channels yourself, who are driven to expose. And so when this transition comes, there will be a frequency break. The frequency break will, this is why there are so many of these energies that are awakening people, awakening the energy people, so that they can actually come out and expose this difference. And there are many that are not awakening at all. And so when this happens, this is where the division will occur. And it takes the exposure to make this happen. And when you talk about the Nibiru, they have a specific plan in mind that will bring this forth. Does this make sense?
That is interesting information, because that concurs with previous information that I received in a different channeling with a higher entity.
Yes, it is difficult to bring out all of the information at once, not just one channel or one, it comes out in bits and pieces of energy. For we come to help the change, to put all the little pieces together, so that eventually when the shift is to take place, what will happen is that clarity will come to those. And this Nibiru, even though there are many different stories and different perceptions of who the Nibiru may be, the Nibiru have the the power and the technology and the awareness and as though they are from the beginning, and to create the separation to some. And because we know that this vessel practices unconditional love and is a healer, there is a struggle at times of saying what we wish for the vessel to say, the destruction of man. There is a new birth, a new beginning that is beginning to be created. And so there are many that are waking up to remember, as those many have been here before and have done this before.
Do you have any knowledge about my previous times and being here before? Do you know anything about that?
It would be much easier to be in the presence of your energy to remember you. We do know that you have been from early times. You're very old, and you have come here at this time, and you were here also at a time of when during the Great Flood. It is for you to remember that time would bring you to this time. It is like an energy signature of how you would come from even during the early times during the times of what others would call slavery, but during that early species time, when that ending came about, you were also there. You were also there at the Great Flood, just as the vessel and many others who are out there to give out information have been in those same energy signatures. You choose to bring forth to help that separation to occur.
If I gave you a clue or a hint as to what I've been told, have you got the capacity to resonate with whether that is accurate or true, or whether it is false?
It would be much more appropriate for the vessel to be in your presence, but you may try. This is the first time that we have really gone this far to speak through transition and through this type of mechanical. Sometimes mechanical gets in the way. Give us a hint.
Before I go and suggest to you who I've been told that I was in the past, can I ask you, who are you? Do you have a name? Do you have a name individually, or do you have a name collectively that we can refer to in the future when we talk about this event and this experience?
We speak through a council of 7 different what you would call extraterrestrial species. It took us a while to get the vessel to this point of communication. We at times bring in other species for the vessel to get familiar with that time frame and awareness. This was an example of bringing forth, knowing that you were looking for the awareness of the early species. It is unpredictable for this type of transition, for we are just communicators, messengers to help bring information through. It is more for the parties who are listening at the time to discern what is is for them to take in as that information. Whether it resonates or it does not resonate, it is just messages of energy. So we do not give out names. Every once in a while there is one that pops up, such as there is a mantis that comes through this vessel that helps the vessel see different types of species and to understand their way. The Andromedans come through, for the vessel is a healer, and the Andromedans help the vessel in those aspects of healing. There are we are the ones who are the vessel's teacher, or the guidance system of the vessel. These visitations can be unique, or they can be practiced to help the vessel communicate to the public.
Are any of your group referred to? Sometimes we hear references to the light workers or the atas and such names. Are any of your group, do they fall into those groups?
The light workers is what they call this vessel. There are waves of energy that are awakening many of the Earth species. There are usually in certain time frames, especially now, to help transition the change. When the vessel's more of what you would call the awake state, as the vessel goes within guidance, the vessel uses much of its work in the healing of awakening others.
And the influence on planet Earth, is there a special name for planet Earth among your group?
There is, this is a question that has never been asked. There are 7. Some see the planet as a visitation. Others sees it as a vacation. Some see it as the most beautiful star. We may not be able to answer that just yet.
Okay, so there isn't an obvious name that everybody uses that is not of this Earth?
No, not all.
Okay. And then the influence on planet Earth in the past, I've come across many different star systems that keep popping up as the major influence on our planet. And could you confirm if this is in fact so? For example, Sirius being the binary star to our sun. Can you confirm if that is in fact so?
We have brought Sirius into the vessels. Sirius is who, that energy of Sirius is the one who has awakened this vessel into this reality that there is more than the angelic realm. Sirius has taken the vessel. There has been trips to Sirius in the vessel's awareness. It is exciting to the vessel, for it is a very different types of species that are all Syrian, as though they have their own lifestyle. of energy there. It is, we see this in the vessel as the vessel has visited and been there, the same as this vessel that has brought this you two together here. It is a remembrance of this energy of Sirius. They're very communal on this, in the way that they carry their energy signature.
Okay, so then the answer would be that Sirius has had a major impact on development of planet Earth.
Absolutely. It is this is why many are remembering Sirius. And Sirius is allowing them to remember, because when transition occurs, many life forms will transition back to the certain ways of life. There has been technology that has been given to Earth from Sirius. There has been saving the planet type information has come from Sirius.
And then other star systems that come up in research is also the Pleiades and Orion. What can you tell us about that?
The Orion system is, in this group there is a Sirian, that communicates through this vessel. This is through the Orion belt.
Was Sirius at some stage in the past part of the Orion belt constellation?
Yes. And it is also, there is quite a few sectors in the Orion, in the Orion belt that had the Sirian occupation. This is a very powerful energy source that has much of the light. When you speak of light workers, these some of these are healers and others are warriors. We lightly bring this to the attention when is needed to know, only to help the remembrance of it. So when it comes to that point when the Sirians wish to give us the information for what is yet to come, we bring this forth. In the meantime, it is because of this vessel is not ready for what those who come out and speak of energy wars and other aspects of danger. The vessel will only allow the light to come through as we speak, for it would only interfere with the work that we have prepared for the vessel. So the Sirians...
Sorry, I interrupted you. Carry on.
It is perfectly fine. What is it that you wish to say?
I wanted to ask about the Pleiades as well, on top of the...
The Pleiades are not in this council. In the Andromedan is in this council. There is the Pleiades have not communicated through this vessel is not part of the seven. Do you understand?
So all that I understand. Thank you very much. And the 7 ETs or species that you mentioned are all outside of our galaxy.
They are in a dimensional. They are in a dimensional shift of the galaxy. Yes. They have. When they come, many of the people are looking at these in a linear sense of an awareness. When you look at the visitations of the extraterrestrial at a linear sense, it creates a sense of fear. Although what happens is that these energies also come through a dimensional awareness as visitations. So we look at this and we express to others that when the visitations come, it is a dimensional shift of energy that communicates through. For when you begin to shift, even the planet begins to shift, it separates into a dimensional aspect, as though one part of the planet is actually going into a higher consciousness. Just as yourself, you are raising into a higher consciousness. Those who are raising, yes, those who are.
I'm very happy to hear that.
Yes, we know that you are. You would not be speaking to us at this point if you were not. Then there is a higher consciousness within those that are awakening. And those who are awakening and exposing the truth are the ones who will shift with this new division of the planet. Do you see what we try to get out? So basically, you are the Hysterian that brings back information of remembrance, for as this will all be brought into this new shift. This is why you are in higher consciousness.
There are some very interesting structures that we have found here, and that I have hypothesized about what they were for. One of these structures is a very peculiar combination of hexagonal type stone structures that are clustered together, just like a honeycomb, a beehive honeycomb. And I believe that was originally for the cloning purposes of the new species. Can you confirm that or unconfirm that?
We cannot confirm that until we see or feel the energy of it. It is
I'm doing my best to send you the energy. I'm visualizing it. I'm doing my best to send it to you.
Yes, we do have the picture of it, just as we have sent the vessel over to your side. The vessel remembers being there in an earlier life, although it is just bits and pieces of energy transformation. It would be, you state that you will be coming to the this side for traveling. The vessel will meet with you and pick up the energies, for the vessel is an empath. It can only read what it feels, and it is its strongest as an empath. Then the information comes through as a lot easier than it does right now in this transition of division through mechanical devices.
And the place that we call Adam's calendar, does that bring more energy? Is that stronger in your mind to tell us more about that?
No, we cannot. This is not something that we recall.
person that I've been told that I have been in a previous life is the name Dumuzi. Does that resonate with you at all?
When the vessel comes into your presence, the vessel will be able to speak more of your life. You have lived many lifetimes in the area that you are in now. It is familiar to you, is it not?
Very familiar.
Yes, you have lived. This is home to you, and it feels like home, and you are remembering everything that you are experiencing, for you are exposing what you remember. This is why you are doing what you are doing at this particular time, for you have chose to come here to bring this remembrance up through a higher consciousness, and then expose the information to others. And so,
well, that definitely concurs with previous messages and channels that I've had.
yes.
So I feel very happy to hear that.
Yes, and there is the vessel has also been there in a previous time, and so has the vessel. Joseph has been there. The vessel has had an experience with either in a place called Zanzibar, or the name of Zanzibar comes through, and the vessel was a very large, tall, skinny woman that felt like 10 feet tall, and very admired by all as a tribal awareness. It was during a very poetic remembrance of the death of the the leader of the tribe, the chieftain of the tribe, and it was a remembrance of that life in that area of where you are right now. In many trying and hard times, but at the same time a flourishing time of communal and tribal awareness.
I also reached a conclusion that there were about at least 50 million people over a very long period of time, from the origins of our species, that lived here in southern Africa mining gold. I work it out to be about 270,000 years, but it was a continuation of about 50 million people that stayed here, and maybe even more. Could you confirm that that was so large?
It's during that time, before the shifts of the earth, it is almost as if the shifts of the polar shift went backwards, and what has happened is that what used to be alive there may not be alive now, and it was a different type of energy. Yes, there was many that occupied that part of the earth. The earth was very different then.
And they used, as we mentioned before, they used sound frequency and sound vibrations as an energy source. Is that correct?
Yes, as they are beginning to remember and do now as well. This is happening now as well.
I see the Ankh because we found what everyone believes to be the Egyptian Ankh.
Yes.
We actually find the evidence here in South Africa that it was used here long before. They used it in Egypt, and it was used as an energy generating device, as a tuning fork kind of tool to do all kinds of things with, to generate energy and heal and many other amazing things. Would that be correct?
It is correct. It is a very favorite symbol of the vessel. And it is, for the vessel, remembers many of those lifetimes with that energy of the Ankh. It has brought into this lifetime many of the awarenesses and the energy of that time of healing that was used. For the vessel has lived many lifetimes as the healer and the communicator. And so the Ankh is very special when it is used for energy, yes.
Is there any advice that we can get from you and your special council of 7 that obviously has advanced knowledge? Is there any special advice you can give us how we should approach to harness the energy in the stone circles, the sound energy in the stone circles, which we have measured there is, but I do not know at this stage if we have the knowledge to use that sound frequency for a source of energy of all types. Is there any advice that you can give us?
We as the council would say to use that energy at the appropriate time. The appropriate time, all information will be revealed to you and others who are working with you. It is keeping it out of the hands of those who want to use that energy as for warlike information. It is an energy that could be used to create the transition of humanity. It is the energy that could create the new earth and create all the changes that are about to occur for humanity. It is energy that you would be able to communicate with in the intent. It is the energy that could create life. It is the energy that could bring life through it. Much for communication. There is an
light and heat.
Yes, there is an exciting feeling inside. For there is like a rumble of that energy that is speaking through, as though this is a very good energy that is very much to be used, and all those who can help you will be coming in your direction to when that perfect time frame is about to occur. So you will be able to bring that forth just through the intent of wanting to know the language of that energy. It is all...
I was also told... Sorry, carry on.
That it's okay. The energy's broke. What would you like to say?
I was also told that some of the devices that were created to generate energy here are big stone structures. Obviously, we've mentioned this before. They're large stone structures with 22, 25, 30 meter diameters and even larger. And I have been told by other information from other sources that these were the prototypes of the energy devices that are very, very powerful, extremely powerful, much more powerful than anyone on Earth has ever been able to even imagine. I understand that, but many others will not be able to understand that yet because they don't think along those lines. But I was told that it was these devices that much later caused the destruction of Atlantis because they were misused. Would that be accurate?
Yes, the vessel came from Atlantis at one time, and there was much information. They had too much information and did not know how to use it correctly. This was their own demise. It was like you may have said that they got too smart and too scientific in their ways of thinking, and they had all this information, just as we are seeing it happen again. They take all this information and use it for all the wrong reasons, such as power. Power would be the word.
So would it be accurate to say then that they misused these energy devices that we still see here in South Africa and in Zimbabwe?
Absolutely.
The remains of those devices, and they used them and they misused the same devices on Atlantis, which then caused the destruction of that continent.
Yes, and they are doing the same now. It is. So each time that this spin around, and we have this opportunity to change, it's just like going from one lifetime of energy to another lifetime of energy, and you allow yourself to experience similar situations in order to evolve and to grow and to expand the consciousness. And it is the same with these envelopes of time. You have the new earth, and then another new earth, and another new earth of new beginnings in order to be able to be given the same opportunities, and to raise this consciousness, to use it in more of a light than in the darkness. And there are always those that are opposing, that wishes to, out of power, greed, that wish to pull this and keep you in that energy of dark and light. So the light and the dark are always opposing one another when it comes to the energy of it. So it is placed in the form. So the same thing with these fragmentations of energy of time. So here we are at the end of time, like Atlantis. And so Nibiru, that comes through, will be almost like a decision maker, is what we bring forth. For it is that energy of how much we want to use this energy for life. The energy that you are exposing, the energy that other people are exposing, such as stargates, and how much do we want to use to expand life?
Would you say that, or would you agree, or what is your advice or feedback on the whole concept of money on our planet? My belief is that is the one thing that is the cause of all the device used for holding back the species from growing more quickly in their consciousness and reaching higher levels of energy. And money is the tool of enslavement that is holding the people back. So would you agree with my philosophy that we need to move towards a world without money and what I call the contributionist system?
We would agree, and we would say that this is a part of the transition. The part of the transition is that when, even prior to the early flood, there was a time, I believe that the biblical term of where property or gold was more important than humanity. And so it is the same with the money in this time frame. It is like the gold, it is more important than humanity. Well, eventually it has to go. And when you start all over again, it gives you that opportunity to not have that power. For it's all about power on that dark side, if you wish to call it, or opposing side. And many of us...
And if
Continue.
Sorry for interrupting. Is it possible that the shift in 2012 is going to benefit this shift towards a moneyless planet, where we move towards a breaking down the concept of hierarchy and breaking down the concept of superiority and realize the oneness of the species and start moving towards the oneness and more towards... Would you say 2012 could play a role in that?
2012 will play a role in that, for that is the energy, part of the energy shift, which you are beginning to slowly see that now. It is a given that man must come back to its natural form. And in order to do that, there will be a destruction of financial power. And it is coming soon.
Has it got something to do with the activity of the sun?
The activity of the sun could be the destruction of the old earth. For those who are raising in the consciousness will be traveling with the new earth. It is a frequency. Was that answered correctly in order to what you were looking for?
Yes, it was. Thank you very much. I'm just thinking about what else I need to ask. I'm starting to run out of questions right now.
And the vessel...
I have so much on my mind.
Yes. The vessel will only be able to take too much more of this, for it depletes the vessel's
energy.
Yes. And
well, in that case, I don't want to deplete the vessel's energy any longer, because I know what it feels like personally.
Yes,
so
you do.
I would like to say thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and experience and wisdom with us, and hopefully we can do this again to get some more information and to get more enlightenment and more knowledge, that we can start building our own base of knowledge and a more understanding of our human history.
Yes, it would be an honor, and it would be an honor to allow the vessel to be in the presence of this energy, for you have a greatness and a great opportunity, and you have brought forth such wonderful answers to the great puzzle, and you will be involved in even greater transitions as this shift begins to move. It is an honor as well.
Well, thank you very much. I feel honored to be given this information, and please let the vessel rest, well-deserved rest, and we'll speak again soon.
Mm.
And this is Joe Mara from Universal Talk with Terry Ippoliti and Michael Tellinger on June 10th, 2010. And Terry and I are here in central Pennsylvania, and Michael Tellinger is in South Africa. And we're doing a telecommunication for the first time through Universal Talk and through Terry's channels. There is just a little bit of a limitation or a barrier, if you will, as you can see, because of the distance. But in the future, I really would like to get the three of us together to combine our energies, because, as we all know, everything is energy.
My heart is beating really fast.
So how are you feeling, Terry?
I feel pretty good. I'm a little dehydrated. I always come out of them a little dehydrated, and it's kind of like it'll all blend in with me later on down the road. You know, like there'll be more insight that's going to pop up, and I don't know how much more time we have.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, and it's just I'll be able to understand you a little bit more. I tell you the truth, I've never watched your YouTubes and I've never read your book, so I apologize. But
that's better. It gives it more credibility, you know.
I'm not really sure what I said, tell you the truth.
I'll have a sip of water for you.
Yeah, I got one over there.
Here, I'll get it for you.
Thanks. So I hope it was pretty knowledgeable for you. You know, Joe's been, even though I'm leaving Joe, I'm moving to Arizona in another week or two. Joe has been a great facilitator for me, because he really helped me get a little more stronger in this and accepting what has been going on, you know, through these channels, and bringing them to at least to this council that comes through.
Well, were you doubting it? Were you doubting yourself at some stage?
Oh my God, for a long time, because I used to spontaneously do this and not even know I was doing it. I was losing bouts of time all the time, and I told Joe about it, and he helped me get it into some type of a semblance. So I have no idea what I'm going to be doing in the future, but we'll just see where it goes. You know?
That's fantastic. That's amazing. That's an amazing story in itself.
I've got a lot of amazing stories, to tell you the truth. I'm trying to figure out how to write them, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Teresa, so you say you're going to Arizona?
Yes, I'm being called for some reason.
Okay.
I just feel that about 5 years ago I was called to Wisconsin, and I recognized what that was all about, and then I ended up coming back here and meeting Joe, and then now I feel this strong urgency. I met some people out there, and it's not that they're calling me, it's just the energy out there is calling me. So I have a feeling it has something to do with my growth here. And
are you going to Phoenix, or?
Probably up higher, like Mesa or Apache Junction. That's where I was hiking up Superstition Mountain, and Joe was with me, and all kinds of stuff was coming through. I mean, talk about waking up all my senses. And it was like I was going into a past life and seeing myself jump off of a cliff, you know, as an Apache Indian. And then all of a sudden these green orbs of light started coming through my body, and I'm seeing this river of blood, and I'm watching it's like I went from past, present, and future all at once, you know. And then what happened? Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's different. I'm excited at times, and other times when things like real new comes, I'm not afraid anymore. That's one thing I have to admit. I'm not afraid anymore, but there were a time when I was afraid, I have to admit. I lived in that fear-based world.
Yeah, well, that fear factor thing, that's what keeps us all enslaved, isn't it? It's really that's the major.
Yeah, I think my channels have brought that to my attention, that we're still in slavery.
Fear and doubt.
Right now, yeah.
We are more enslaved now, I believe, personally. My feeling is that We're more enslaved now than at any times before because of the way that the financial system and money has become an unquestionable, unassailable religion.
Yes. Well, you know what?
Imagine a world without money. Well, this is what I try and teach people in my contributionist message. It's so simple to do that. And I show them very quickly and very easily in a few basic steps how you can turn this world of suppression and economic hierarchy into an equality of all and create an abundance beyond belief. Because the moment you remove money and you replace it with the desire for humans to fulfill their dreams, you create such abundance of wealth in everything, on every level, from science to food to social arts and culture to technology and engineering and everything. The abundance is so overwhelming that we can't imagine it in a capitalistic system.
Not right now, we can't, but we will later on, won't we? I truly believe that this is...
have anything to do with it.
Oh, let me tell you, you got a tremendous amount of power, so just by that energy that you're carrying right now, you watch what happens. And put them together with a few of people of like minds, just see what happens. And, you know, this is why we're waking up. We're waking up to get that energy out of there, you know, to get that that energy of all this power. Some people call it the Illuminati, some people call it the powers to be or whatever. But the whole aspect of it is that once we get together and we see the simplicity, everything is in simplicity. Once we get past our egos and we get past our what we've been conditioned to believe, and this is why many of us are beginning to awaken to this understanding, because this will be the new earth. And there will
be... You know what, you're talking about the ego and all that, and you know, the biggest threats to contributionism or a world without money are rich people, okay, because they fear losing what they have, and they fear losing the control over others. And yet then they sit in boardroom meetings, and then the CEO starts to talk to all the guys in the boardroom saying, yeah, geez, you know, when I was 10 years old, we used to go down there and we used to make flyers for fly fishing, and then I used to sell them on the side of the road. And I said, well, wouldn't you rather be doing that?
Yeah.
Living in fear that you're going to lose your empire and having sleepless nights and firing people and wheeling and dealing and having a miserable life because you just want this control, but you don't really want it. You've got to the stage where you can't let it go because you don't know what else to do.
I totally understand that, but you know what? You know what? Don't give yourself a heart attack. The whole aspect of it is that it is going to change, and you are a significant part of helping that change transition. And that is a blessing all by itself, because the more people who bring that energy through, that same consciousness, that same type of thought pattern, okay, what happens is that it's inevitable. It's just going to happen. And everything else is going to crumble. It's almost like it's just going to happen out of the blue. And of course, there's going to be a lot of people suffering. You know, even my trip to Arizona, I'm not even thinking about the money. I'm just going. You know, and I have found that when you get into that consciousness, it just comes to you. It's like it is amazing. I used to not make money, and I made money, and both times I felt poor. You know, and then finally when I broke out of that, when I broke out of that consciousness, it's almost like everything comes to me, just like this trip. Everything that I needed to do, all I had to do was think of it, and it's happening. You know, and it's when my ego gets in the way, it gets a little scattered, and it creates a problem. But then I stop and I say, oh man, what did I do to sabotage that? And then I change that thought, and then it turns around, and it happens. This is what it's going to be like. You know?
Yeah, I find it difficult because I've been working on this contributionist society model for 5 years now. It's not something that came easily. And I'm so entrenched in it, and I'm so absorbed and consumed by it that sometimes I forget that I live in a capitalistic world.
Well,
And
maybe that's good for you.
And when the end of the month comes, I suddenly go, oh, damn, I'm going to pay some bills. And, I'm just so consumed and absorbed in what I'm doing. And I forget that there's this other world around me. But I'm finding that I'm getting so many emails, and I'm talking about thousands of emails, not just hundreds, but thousands of emails from people all over the world that have seen my YouTube clips on contributionism. And I need to do a lot more. And after my interview with Kerry Cassidy, where I spoke quite extensively about it a few weeks ago, I'm just astounded, absolutely surprised beyond belief how people are responding to it. So, as you said, it will just happen. And it's as if that's exactly, it's like you push the right button, and it's like the on button.
Yeah.
And it's the antithesis of hardship and misery, and the antithesis of poverty and everything. It's like this one collective button that you switch on, and everyone goes, "Yeah, that's what we need." It's absolutely amazing.
Yes, it is, and it does happen that way. Myself, as a healer, I have a lot of tools that I work with, from hypnosis to past life regression to channeling to astrology, you name it, I do it all. And what happens is that people come to me. They just come to me. Basically, they come to me through Joe's practice. They come to me off the street. And what happens is that each one of those tools, when I use those tools, it actually helps those people. And of course, tools that I don't even know I have. Okay, which is the outside energies. Basically, these people start to transition into this same thought, the thought that I have. They slowly break away from their old thoughts. And then what happens is that their consciousness begins to unravel also into the same plan. Not that it happens just overnight, but, it would be nice if I could just touch somebody and that my consciousness would come right up. But the whole aspect of it is that there's...
It's probably going to happen soon.
I think so, too.
I think it's probably going to happen soon.
That energy, there's that energy thing. I think you told the channels, was there something about an energy vortex or something that you are working with? Am I right?
Well, it's an energy device, so not just one. There are thousands, there are millions of them.
Okay.
Many thousands of them.
Well, also I get a lot of information about stones that are coming up out of the ground that have not been exposed for such a long time, and they're just coming up out of the ground. And these stones also have energy signatures that were actually planted here from beyond the flood, back in the Atlantean days, and even prior to that, and now they're starting to surface. And those who there are people that are actually carrying those stones that find them. Certain people seem to find them, and then even their lives are transforming.
Well, you must see some of the stones that we found in the ruins.
I would love to come out there to South Africa.
Well, I'm sure Kerry Cassidy is going to put something really nice together in the next few weeks.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had Carmen Bolter from Calgary University here, Dr. Carmen Bolter, who did the wonderful series called The Pyramid Code, 5 one-hour episodes on the pyramids. She spent 10 days with me here, and also found some very amazing things for her own preferred deductions. But what happens to everyone is they get completely affected by the energy.
Yeah.
And now that we've measured it, and now that I know what's going on because we actually measured it,
wow.
I understand why they get affected by it. And not only that, because some of the stones we find, and I use these stones in my live presentations, where they, I just hold the stone up and you say, well, this is a stone, and if I tell you that a stone rings like a bell, you won't believe me, and then I hit it, and it rings like a bell, and you can hear the whole
wow.
place gasp. They go, oh, no one could believe it, and it rings like a bell.
Wow.
You know, Michael, there's a place in Pennsylvania by Lancaster that I think the town is called Ringing Rocks.
Yeah, it's Ringing Rocks.
In fact, a lot of people just show up there and bring their hammers, and each rock has a different, whether it be a frequency or a different sound, but as you strike the rock there, it rings.
Yeah, I used to go there when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Maybe that's where my attunement began.
Yeah, I think I saw a little video clip on that, and it's very similar to what we have here. Very, very similar.
So I'd be curious to see where it came from or why it's there and all that kind of stuff. I didn't research it at all. I just know of it.
Yeah, I remember from the video clip. It looks like it's almost as if it's a river that dried out. It's lying in this long stretch as if it used to be a river, which makes some sort of a sense. But you know, at least here, maybe they were washed down over a long, long period from higher up, and they landed up in the river. That's what happens, right? Stones go down mountains and they land up in the river. So it's possible that they came up from structures further up the sides. We see that here all the time. But what I find fascinating here is that inside the walls of these ruins, we find stones. They're like a big table-sized, big stone, and when you play it, it rings with like 3 or 4 different harmonic frequencies, and you can play it like a xylophone.
Huh? That's really neat.
Spectacular.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
I'm gonna load. I took a few clips of that recently when my friend Constantine was here from London, also just last week, and I'll post a few of those clips on YouTube as well, because people just need to see it. It's really, and when you stand silently and quietly and you listen to him just play it, it has a profound effect on you.
I'll bet.
Wow. You know something, I think now that I met you, I'll listen to your YouTubes and read your books now.
I don't believe a word I say.
Oh, yeah. I know one thing, it got me buzzing. I try not to listen to too many YouTubes and stuff like that, because when people want to talk to me, I feel like if I get too wrapped up into information that is all out there, then I want to make sure, and that was always something I said to Joe. Joe would say, "Oh, Terry, you have to watch this." I would only, every once in a while, I would watch one, and then I would get to the point where it was because it was divinely being sent to me because I needed to meet that person, But otherwise, I don't watch them because I just feel like if I have too much information in my head, that it may interrupt with what's going on with the channel. So I try not to watch too many YouTubes and stuff like that. I want to hear that you guys, I want you guys to hear what they have to say, whether it's babble or not, So
do you remember much of what say the channel, or do you not really hear much?
No, I let myself go. I know that when I first started, I used to work in the astral world, but when a soldier shot me a soldier got shot in the mouth, and I lost a tooth, I decided that I was not going to do that kind of work, and so that's when I rose up into these higher consciousnesses until the extraterrestrials came to visit me, which was shocking. But they speak to me more in the middle of the night, and they wake me up into like a trance-like state, and that's when I get the information. When I allow myself just to kind of like go to sleep, I just let myself go into a trance. What happens is that it seems like I fall asleep, or I get into like almost like a coma state. I'm in some other place, and then I will come back out, and Joe will tell me all the stuff that I said, and I'm sitting there like, really, no way, And then other times, like I tried to watch the YouTubes of me, I just can't do it.
It's okay, let the other people watch it.
Yeah.
I do the same. I record the stuff, I put it out there, and then, I was shocked the other day. For some reason, I don't know, there was I didn't realize how many YouTube clips there are of me. I was astounded. I just put them up. Somebody else has been putting the stuff up.
I don't think I'm famous, but I like you. But I just do my part. I just do my part. That's it.
No, but it's not about. I think it's when Kerry Cassidy sent me the link to our interview, and I clicked on it, and suddenly all on the side there were all these other things of me, and I didn't put them there. Where does this all?
And all of a sudden, but you know something? Look at all the people you're reaching, and that would not happen if the energy was not there to make it happen. Do you see that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, look, I didn't understand that until relatively recently. Maybe about even 6 months ago, I probably struggled with that concept.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to really wrap my head around that now.
Yeah, I like the humbleness. You know, I like being in the humbleness of my work. You know, I like watching transformation. I like watching people heal. I like seeing the universe work through me. You know, things like that. But and Joe used to say, "Oh my God, Terry, you're going to get famous," and I'm sitting here saying, "No, Joe, no. You can take care of that part for yourself, but I do not want to get famous." And because I feel famous already.
The fame thing is I don't know what it is that why do people want to be famous? Well, I suppose it's an ego thing.
Yeah, but you know what? I think what it is, that's what it is that we look at things in the ego. We struggle with our egos all the time, you know, because we're in this ego.
I've got to slap myself on the back of the head every now and then and say, "What are you doing?"
Oh, you know something? I've seen Joe do that many times. Slap himself upside the head just to get rid of that ego.
I mean, I was in the music business for a long time, and you know, in my from my teens into my late 20s, and all I wanted to do was be a pop star, and I did well. I wrote great songs, and we toured, and did well, and had songs on the charts, and a lot of my friends, even the other day, I had dinner with someone I hadn't seen for a long time, and they said, "What are you doing, writing all this mumbo? Why don't you write songs, man? You're such a good songwriter." And I go, "Well, I don't want to do that because it's the whole ego thing. You know, it's like, let me play my latest song."
You know, that's happening to a lot of people right now. Even I'm seeing it with Joe. I'm seeing it with myself. Is that we're just letting go of everything that we're so comfortable with, and that we used to love so much, and now we're moving into this new uncharted aspects of ourselves. You know. It's like I have no idea what Arizona is going to bring to me, but I'm going because I just feel like it's what has to happen. And even Joe, he's ready to let go of his world, which I won't share that. He can share it himself. But that's what you did. You let go of what was familiar to get where you're at today. And it was it was a baby step. It was a step that where you were at in order for you to be that musician and famous at one time and things like that, it brought you to where you're at today because you're in that energy. You're in that same type of energy, like the limitless thinker that you are.
Well, I like to think of myself as a limitless thinker.
Well, you sure are going.
I live up to.
Well, you know something. Maybe other people see you that way. But you must be you must have that personification in order to create what you're creating, because you're creating magnificent changes in the universe right now.
Well, you know, I always I have a huge problem with a lot of so-called academics and so-called scientists that live in their little boxes and they refuse to read this or refuse to read that. And they only read specific materials. I just go, What kind of a scientist and a researcher are you? You should be prepared to read everything.
Well, now, that's where your consciousness, you have an expanded consciousness. So you have somewhere along the line, you shifted your consciousness. And you're even going to shift it more, by the way. I'll just let you know that. And so
I can feel that. I can feel that, and I know that because of the whole contributionist thing that I'm getting involved in, and it's sucking me in more and more.
Right. And so what's going to happen is everything else is going to disappear. So don't worry about it. Do what feels right, and everything else will begin to disappear. that is the energy working for you, and I'm sure you're already starting to see that.
Oh yeah, I can not only I can feel it.
Yeah.
I can feel it.
Yeah. I can't wait to meet you when you come out here.
I've been telling some of my friends that I can feel it physically.
Yeah.
It's affecting me
Oh,
physically.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, because the reason that is like right now with this transition, the ethereal bodies that we are building, as this energy changes, it's changing us as the human species, almost an evolutionary species, the same with the Earth. And the Earth is going to have a separate body of its own. And the transition is going to be the people of higher vibrational energy and thought are going to move to the newer Earth, and those who did not want to change, and there's not good or bad with this, it's just that they wanted to stay where they're at, they will stay with the old Earth, whereas the light workers that are making the changes without fear and doubt, they're going to be moving forth with the new Earth as the separation and the transition continues.
Well, that's, I see that as the only solution for this physical planet that we're on.
Right.
I mean, in the end, this is all just an illusion in any case.
Oh, right. Yes.
And the consciousness,
yeah.
And the consciousness is allowing us, or the consciousness is the backdrop which allows us to find our way back to source. That's how I see it.
Right.
Yeah, that's how we see it too.
So it's actually just an illusion in any case, but let's just...
But we made it up, we created it. Now we're working on getting out of what we used to create.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's cool. That's cool. It's nice to hear other people talk like that. Joe and I talk like that all the time.
When you see the work of my dear friend Willem de Swart, I speak about him quite often. He's actually going to be doing a talk with Kerry Cassidy and myself on Thursday the 24th in Johannesburg. Willem's new work is going to just blow your mind. It is just so spectacular. We did a very impromptu gathering on Sunday evening in Johannesburg as well. Now, I was free in Johannesburg. I was there to do some things, but I just quickly made some phone calls and a friend of mine that does this thing called the Genius Lab, Amanda and Claire. Claire Janish is a brilliant scientist. She's got 2 doctorates, but she's so down to earth, and she works in biomimicry, in the field of biomimicry, which is just spectacular, and her research is just mind-blowing.
Wow.
And I brought Willem in there just to introduce his work to all these people. And it was just like, suddenly we had like 30 people that just arrived and jammed into this house, into this big lounge, and a beautiful house. And Willem just blew them away. It's just his decoding of his decoding of the imaginary matrix is so spectacular that it just blows your mind. He unpacks it in such easy steps, with a little bit of prodding and helping from me, because he made it very difficult in the beginning. Not knowing how to explain it to people, and then he'd say this and that. I say, no, Willem, you can't say that because you're just jumping from A to Z. You can't jump from A to Z. You've got to show the people the steps in between.
Yeah.
And, okay, I see what you mean. Now he's, after 2 years of working together, he's got it down to where he actually can do a presentation and just blow people's minds with small steps.
You know what I see in that is that you were probably his, what I call a walking angel. It's like some of us, just like with myself, when I came into Joe's presence, I just was marketing myself as a smoking cessation counselor and a hypnotist, and he overheard it and said, "Oh, I want to talk to her," and then just unraveled, and he helped me go from from a spontaneous channel who just did it off, didn't even know she was doing it, to this person who is actually channeling in front of other people. I don't do it often in front of other people because I'm still working my way, through whatever I'm doing, but basically, to be able to do what I'm doing right now, I wasn't able to do this. Talking to other people that I've never met before, and it got to a point where he was kind of like my walking angel in order to help me bring it all together, just like with you and this man. you helped him bring it all together so it could make sense and bring forth the truth. The truth.
Well, I just helped him to realize.
I know, Joe's just as humble too.
But I didn't understand that you can't tell people that. They won't understand what you're telling them.
Right.
I understand what you, because I've been working the process with you, but if you tell the people that, this guy's like it not for.
Right. And that's what Joe used to always say to me.
I know. So I was just going to say, I remember saying the same thing to her. Like, you're skipping all this. They're not going to understand the whole thing. Because it's almost like when you get to this awareness, you forget that people aren't at your level of understanding or awareness. And so you go from A to Z and think, okay, that's the end. And they're just, the people that aren't there, there's so many variables within what you have to discuss, from someone who's totally closed off and not awake to this consciousness where we're at now. I mean, to look back, and you almost have to be discernful about what little seed to plant. You can't even give it to all the people at all at one time, because they don't get it. They have to take a little bit in and process it, then they come back for more. I mean, that's one thing that I found that's disheartening almost, because it's like, I got all this wealth of knowledge, here, let me just blow you away with it, and they just look at you cross-eyed and go, you've lost it, that's it, okay, we're not talking to you anymore.
My mom thought I was schizophrenic for the longest time. But actually, you know, it's quite an adventure.
Absolutely.
That's what it's the most extraordinary journey that you'll ever go on.
Well, I was going to say to you, Teresa, if you're going to, excuse me, if you're going to Arizona and you don't know what to do with yourself, why don't you have a look for a venue that I can come and do a talk at, and help me, if you're that way inclined at all. I'll plant that as a seed, and you can email me or Skype me later and tell me what you think.
Okay, I'll do that.
I want to do about 20 talks around the States.
Okay.
It might be a good reason for us to meet.
I do have some halfway decent marketing skills, and if I get in trouble with any of them, I always come to this guy here who just keeps on creating marketing skills. so yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I'll keep that totally in mind when I get out there. I'll probably be settled by August. I'm kind of like going to explore for at least a month, and I'm going to take my 13-year-old granddaughter, and we're going to stop a few places in Colorado and Michigan, and go to the Grand Canyon and go to California, and then I'll take her home and get settled.
When are you coming to the USA, Michael? Like, what's your time frame?
I sent you an email. Have a look at that.
I did, but I wanted you to say it for the camera.
Okay. Now, I'll be arriving on the 25th of August, and I've got 2 months, pretty much 2 months, to do about 20 or 25 talks, if I can squeeze that many in.
Oh, wow.
So whoever wants me to come and talk in their town or city, you know, they must just get hold of me and say, look, I can organize a venue, I can put up a few posters, and let's just do some marketing. I'll send it to my database. I'll use Kerry, Project Camelot, and we'll use Coast to Coast, and we'll use whatever tools we can to tell the people where I'll be doing talks, and if I can get 100 people to each one of these talks, I'll be very, very happy. I'll be ecstatic, actually. That'll be fantastic. So let's talk later. We can talk to each other later and just finalize some of these things, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
That's good. Well, it was nice meeting you. I'm going to have some clients that are out there sitting waiting for you.
Yeah, me too. But hey, thanks a lot, Michael.
Yes.
Teresa, thanks very much. I really appreciate it. Nice to meet you on across the wires like this, or satellite or whatever.
Likewise.
And Joe, I'll speak to you soon. Thanks very much, guys. Have a good day.
Involvement from the very beginning. And it is like almost as if you would look at the earth as an experiment of some type. And another way of looking at this energy is to see there are time frames of there are different time frames of evolution early on. And in the beginning, there has been what some may look at as we only speak from the remembrance of the energy. The vessel has not read or does not know any of your work. We can only articulate what the vessel feels in the energy that we feed into this. We would say that there has been DNA changes which are still occurring and are occurring more rapidly now. It is a vibration of the energies that are, even then it was the changes of vibrations of minerals, vibrations of land formation, vibrations that came from different dimensional aspects of company that came from other what you would put the terms to as a planetary company, extraterrestrials. Some they call as the Anunnakis, they call some as the Zulazem.
And are you, how did you find us to channel through your information through us, or through to us? How did you find us, and how do you fit into these different groups of beings or entities? Are you not part of the Anunnaki group of beings? Are you from a different group of beings?
There is a time frame of slavery, they would call it. Many workers. This is a visitation. When the vessel asks for guidance, the vibration of energy.
Is my understanding of the way that they use the energy accurate, or is it more or less accurate?
In your research, for you to be in this research, you actually are carrying that energy to expose this information. This information can be a drive. There is an inner drive that is coming that is not of what you would expect in the ego mind, but it is a feeling that it must be exposed. This is because you are actually allowing this new transition of time to create and to allow those who have been in the dark for such a long time to come out of the dark, to come back into the light. You are exposing the truth at a higher frequency of energy. And much of your information comes as though you are the channel of that information through your research, the study, the drive that you have, even the ability to find the information comes from a higher awareness within yourself.
Do you know who is responsible for feeding me the information or channeling the information to me?
You are receiving this information from very early on, from the beginnings of the time frame of the species. It is almost as if we could tap into this energy. It would be easier to be in your energy stream, to understand where you once created early in the species during the extraterrestrial visitations.
Would it be accurate to say that our species was then created by extraterrestrials for a specific reason and a purpose on this planet?
We do remember that there has been, and there still is, what you would call extraterrestrial involved group that works with the vessel may allow a visitation. As an observer, we are coming in as a collectiveness of one, remembering as though, if to put it as an I, as one of the workers. Much mining during this time that we were exposed to was to mine many of the to build for what we perceived as giants, or we would see them as some not so friendly, and others friendly.
When you call it a vessel, when you use the word vessel, do you refer to planet Earth?
The vessel is the occupation, or the physicalness of
the body.
We speak through. We are communicating through the vessel.
They're communicating through Terry's body, and they term it as the vessel. Like Terry's body's the vessel.
Okay.
So we are allowing ourselves to bring this energy through as a remembrance, a signature of remembrance of that energy.
And was it gold that was sought after in the beginning on this planet?
Gold is always preferred. Gold has has a structure. Yes, you may ask.
In the beginning, it was my understanding that gold was used as a physical substance for the protection of a planet, which the Anunnaki call Nibiru. Is that accurate?
We are in the awareness of the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, of the early visitors. Gold was not just used for their purpose, where they used it for many different aspects of worship. They used it for as a chemical combine for instruments that they would need.
And she's come to have a look at these rooms and do some interviews, and I've organized a talk for her and me in Johannesburg in 2 weeks' time. And then I'm coming to the United States in August. I'm coming to do my little tour of the United States and hopefully do about 20 appearances all over the USA. And so I might as well just use this opportunity. Hopefully I'm going to do one with you in your area, Joe.
Absolutely. Yeah, if there's any way that I can help promote that, I mean, I'm definitely a willing participant with that.
And then if whoever is listening to this interview, if they want to get involved and maybe assist me in doing a talk, if you want me to come and talk in your town or your city, just email me, and all I need is a venue, and that's pretty much it, venue, and then we'll do the PR collectively, and hopefully we can get a bunch of people in there that I can come and share some of our discoveries with.
Right. How many people would you say, so this all works out, do you think that 100 people would be an adequate venue, or an adequate amount of people, I should say, or more?
Yeah, if 100 people would be wonderful. You know, anything more than that will be incredible. And so far I've had some really positive responses and feedback from people who have offered their services and help to set up some talks and find venues for me. So if all things continues like it has been, today was really the first day that I started promoting this via email, and so far it's been going really well, very positive feedback. So in the next 2 weeks, hopefully we'll finalize everything with the people in about 20 places around the USA, and then I can actually start promoting it and actually put a time and a date to the venue and the town that I'll be talking at.
Perfect. Okay, I think Terry might be ready now.
We are now in a position to allow this energy to flow easily. We are listening to the communication and allowing the vessel to take a trip to your position, your location. In the meantime, we bring this energy to allow the conversation to flow for what is the energy stream of what you are asking to understand in this.
Michael, is there anything that you found that's new or that you could give us an update?
Oh yeah, a lot of new information. Just confirming what we discussed the previous time we had a chat, in many of my interviews. I've been talking about the fact that the stone circles and the stone structures that we're discovering here, I have put together my theory and hypothesis that they were used, well not all of them, but many of them were used as energy generating devices, using sound frequency and standing waves, and turning that into a form of energy with which they did all the gold mining and all other kinds of mining. And not only that, they used that energy for levitation, for crushing, for everything they needed to do, for heating and so forth. That was the theory that I had based on purely putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And then recently we did some measurements that were absolutely astounding to prove pretty much that my theory has been true. Not that I doubted it, because I've had so many psychics and people come forward and tell me exactly the same thing, or confirming what I believed or what I put together from the pieces of the puzzle. And again, I didn't just come up with this. You can call it a scientific exploration that's taken a long, long time to put the pieces of the puzzle together, to figure out what was going on here a long time ago. And a long time ago, we believe from about 300,000 years ago. And so we did some measurements, and to our absolute astonishment, found that there is a very high energy, sound energy, that comes out of the ground inside these stone structures, the stone circles. It's been described by the guy that measured it as a column of energy that arises from the ground and moves up into the air. And secondly, he measured the energy and the sound frequencies coming out of the walls at about 72 dB, which is very loud, like rock concert loud almost, and at 14.5 gigahertz frequency, which means it is screaming at us all the time, but we can't hear it. So we've got live energy devices here that have been working for so long and are still currently working, and I believe it's a combination of tapping into the energy in the ground, in the soil of Mother Earth, that comes out everywhere, all over the surface, and using that sound frequency as a source of energy. And we need to start doing a lot more work and a lot more research in this area.
Absolutely. Where do you see yourself in the next coming weeks?
Well, I've got Terry Cassidy here next week from Project Camelot,